For years, one thing was clear. Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley didn't start off as friends. Rumors flew, fans speculated, but Sinatra stayed mostly silent until the day after Elvis's tragic death. In a rare and emotional moment, he finally opened up. What he said stunned even his most loyal fans. Even more surprising, he said it live, on stage, in front of an audience, just one day after Elvis passed. This is the untold story of that night, and what Sinatra finally revealed about the king of rock and roll. By the late 1950s, America's music scene was shifting fast. The air was electric with something new, louder, bolder, more rebellious. Teenagers danced wildly while parents watched in disbelief. Rock and roll had arrived, and it was drowning out the smooth sounds of jazz and swing. For the old guard, it felt like an invasion. At the heart of that guard was Frank Sinatra. With over a decade at the top, Sinatra wasn't just a star, he was the definition of American cool. His voice, charm, and elegance made him a cultural icon. He sold out shows, lit up movie screens, and earned the admiration of everyone from critics to presidents. Then, almost overnight, came Elvis Presley. In 1956, he didn't just debut, he detonated. With slicked back hair, a curled lip, and moves that sent shockwaves through America, Elvis became a national sensation. Teens went wild. Parents were horrified. Church leaders called him obscene. But the charts didn't lie. Elvis was unstoppable. By 1957, he was dominating. His style, emotional, southern, and untamed, was rewriting what it meant to be a star. Where Sinatra crooned, Elvis roared. Where Sinatra wore tuxedos, Elvis wore rhinestones. Their contrast was striking. Sinatra's fans sipped cocktails. Elvis's fans screamed until they couldn't speak. It felt like the torch was being passed, but not everyone accepted it quietly. And as the media watched, they didn't miss the chance to frame it as a cultural showdown. Sinatra, the king of swing. Presley, the king of rock and roll. The media loved the contrast. Headlines hinted at rivalry. Gossip columns stirred speculation. Could Sinatra survive the youthquake Elvis had unleashed? This was more than a music debate. It was generational. Younger fans embraced Elvis as rebellion incarnate. Older ones clung to Sinatra, the last symbol of elegance and class. It wasn't just about sound. It was about values. With every TV appearance, every sold-out tour, and every controversial hip shake, Elvis seemed to pull American culture further from Sinatra's world. Behind the scenes, the industry was shifting too. Record execs who once backed crooners were now betting on guitar-slinging rebels. Labels rebranded, radio formats flipped, even nightclubs changed their look. The future belonged to youth, and Elvis was youth. All this fueled one question. What did Sinatra think? Was he threatened? Annoyed? Amused? No one had risen this fast before, not even Frank himself. What began as two stars in separate lanes was now framed as a cultural collision. Sinatra, once the definition of cool, was starting to look like yesterday's news. And Elvis? He was just getting started. Then came the spark that lit the fire. Sinatra's scathing dismissal of rock's new wave. As Elvis skyrocketed, all eyes turned to Frank. What would the voice of the 40s and 50s say about this wild new sound? In 1957, fans got their answer. Writing for a French magazine, Sinatra let loose. He called rock and roll the most brutal, ugly, degenerate, vicious form of expression he'd ever heard. He called it a rancid-smelling aphrodisiac, made by people with no musical background or discipline. He didn't name Elvis, but no one missed the message. At the time, Elvis was the face of rock and roll. Sinatra's words landed like a bomb. To Elvis's fans, it wasn't just criticism, it felt personal. Why would Sinatra, a legend himself, attack so hard? Some said jealousy, others, fear. Maybe it was the frustration of seeing control slip away. The press jumped on it. Headlines painted a feud. The narrative was set. Sinatra saw Elvis not just as a musical threat, but a challenge to his very throne. Their differences were stark. Sinatra, smooth and calculated. Elvis, wild and electric. The resentment, some believed, ran deep. For over a decade, Sinatra had helped define American taste. He had clout, power, and legacy. Then a 22-year-old from Tupelo stole the spotlight with moves and music that felt dangerous to the old guard. Still, Sinatra's criticism wasn't unique. Many older artists saw rock as a threat to tradition. To them, Elvis wasn't music. He was chaos. Sinatra gave voice to that discomfort, but his words stuck. They added fuel to the perception. This wasn't just a style clash. It was a cultural standoff. Sinatra was the establishment. Elvis was the revolution. And even if they never traded public blows, the tension between them felt undeniable. Fans and critics soon saw Sinatra and Elvis not just as stars, but as symbols of a cultural clash. Old versus new, croon versus chaos, tradition versus transformation. The stage was set for a showdown no one could ignore. But as the years passed, the story became more complex, shifting from sharp criticism to unexpected moments of unity. By 1960, the music world had changed dramatically. Rock and roll was no fad. It was the new normal. Elvis had returned from military service to a still adoring nation, while Sinatra remained a powerful figure, though the tides were turning. Then came a surprise. Sinatra invited Elvis onto his TV special. The Frank Sinatra Timex show, Welcome Home Elvis, aired on May 12, 1960. It marked their first and only televised appearance together. To viewers, it seemed like a thaw, a truce between two legends. Side by side, smiling and laughing, they even sang each other's hits. Sinatra crooned Elvis's Love Me Tender, and Elvis returned with Sinatra's Witchcraft. On camera, it was a symbol of respect and unity, two icons bridging generations. The press hailed it as a musical handshake, proof Sinatra had embraced rock and roll. But behind the scenes, tensions simmered. Sinatra's camp was uneasy about the special's promotion and billing. Elvis was paid a staggering $125,000, far more than Sinatra earned, irritating Sinatra's team. Meanwhile, Elvis's close circle, the Memphis Mafia, saw Sinatra's warmth as calculated PR rather than genuine friendship. Elvis himself stayed cautious. Though respectful on air, he hadn't forgotten Sinatra's harsh words from years before. To many fans, the special didn't erase those wounds. It merely put a polished Hollywood gloss on a rivalry that still lingered. Every smile, every line seemed rehearsed, masking the tension beneath. Observers noticed subtle signs, the way Sinatra gestured, the way Elvis held his smile just a moment too long. Behind the cameras, whispers suggested Sinatra was using Elvis to stay relevant. Some said the two barely interacted off stage. Elvis hadn't forgotten Sinatra's early disdain, and forgiveness wasn't easy. Still, the special became a landmark, a symbolic merging of classic and rebellious generations. Yet many remained unconvinced. The handshake felt hollow, the truce staged, the rivalry unresolved. For years, Sinatra and Elvis maintained a fragile image of respect, though many sensed lingering tension until tragedy struck. On August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, died suddenly at just 42. The world was stunned. Fans mourned deeply, and the spotlight soon turned to Frank Sinatra. Would he say anything? For days, Sinatra remained silent, fueling speculation. But the next night, at a concert, he broke his silence with a heartfelt tribute. Elvis Presley was one of the sweetest, kindest, most decent men I've ever known. The crowd was stunned by Sinatra's sincerity. Contrary to public perception, their relationship was never about rivalry. Behind the scenes, Elvis admired Sinatra's career control and generosity, while Sinatra respected Elvis's warmth and loyalty. They understood the pressures of fame and quietly respected each other. Sinatra's tribute changed the narrative, showing their bond transcended generations and styles. Their legacies, once seen as opposites, are now linked by genuine respect. Sinatra's words remain a lasting symbol of grace between two music legends who truly understood one another. What do you think about Sinatra and Elvis's relationship? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos, and don't forget to press the bell icon.